Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a Nobel Prize-winning idea that basically claims to have found the one, simple, and truly optimal way to invest.
You know, the world of investing, it just feels like chaos, right? You've got thousands of stocks, you've got this constant flood of conflicting advice, but what if, just what if, hidden inside all of that noise, there was a single, simple, and genuinely optimal way to build your portfolio?
Well, it turns out there just might be. Back in the 1950s, an economist named Harry Markowitz came up with an idea that was so powerful it won a Nobel Prize and completely changed the game. And look, this isn't just another hot tip, it's a foundational theory that literally reshaped all of modern finance.
So, where do we even start? Well, it all begins with a fundamental dilemma every single investor has to face, that constant tug-of-war between risk and return.
Every investment decision you make is a trade-off. It's that simple. On one hand, you want to maximize your return. You want your portfolio to go up. But on the other hand, you want to minimize your risk, which we can measure by how much its value bounces around. So the goal is pretty straightforward. Get the absolute most return you can for a level of risk you're actually comfortable with.
So how do we actually do that? How do we nail that trade-off? To find the first clue, let's just simplify the entire investing world down to only two assets. And this, right here, is where the magic really starts. Okay, so imagine for a second you can only invest in two things. We'll call them Asset A and Asset B. You could put all your money in A, all your money in B, or, mix it up between them. And every single mix creates a new portfolio with its own unique risk and return profile.
Now, in a super simple world where both of these assets move in perfect lockstep, when A goes up, B goes up by the exact same amount, all your possible portfolios just fall on this boring, straight line. There's really no big advantage to combining them.
But here is the magic. The second those assets aren't perfectly correlated, meaning they don't move together perfectly, that line of possibilities suddenly bends to the left. Just by combining them, you can actually get the same return with less overall risk. It's because when one is zigging, the other might be zagging, and that smooths out the whole ride for you.
And this is exactly what people mean when they call diversification the only free lunch in finance. I mean, think about it. In a world where everything has a cost, getting something for nothing is a huge deal. You are literally reducing your risk without giving up a single penny of potential return. All you did was cleverly combine things that don't move in perfect harmony.
Okay, that was pretty cool with just two stocks. But what happens when we throw all the possible stocks into the mix? Let's see if we can find the absolute best portfolios out there.
So as you add a third asset, then a fourth, then hundreds more, the number of potential combinations just explodes. Instead of a single bent line, you get this entire shaded area, a whole cloud of possible portfolios. And this brings us to something called the efficient frontier. It's really simple. It's just the top edge of that whole shaded area. Any portfolio on this curve gives you the absolute highest return you can possibly get for that level of risk. Anything below it is just, it's inefficient. Why would you ever pick a portfolio down there when you could just go straight up and get more return for the exact same amount of risk? It just doesn't make sense.
So it seems like now you just have to pick a spot on that frontier that matches how much risk you can stomach. But hold on. If we add one last, super simple piece to this puzzle, it changes the entire game, and it gives us a stunningly simple answer.
Let's introduce what we call the risk-free asset. Just think of it like a government bond. It has basically zero risk, and it offers you a guaranteed, even if it's a small, return. Now just watch what happens when we start to combine this super safe asset with all those portfolios on our efficient frontier.
So if you draw a line from that risk-free asset to any portfolio on the frontier, you create a whole new set of possibilities. But, and this is the key, there's only one single point on that entire curve that creates the absolute steepest possible line. And that new line, it represents the best possible risk-return trade-off available, period. It's better than everything else, even the old frontier.
And that single perfect tangent point, that is the big reveal. We call it M, the market portfolio. The theory argues that this is the one and the only portfolio of risky assets that any rational investor should ever hold.
Now that is a massive conclusion. Think about it. It takes the infinitely complex world of trying to pick the right stocks and just simplifies it all down to a single crucial choice.
And to understand why, you've got to get this critical difference between two types of risk. First, you've got idiosyncratic risk. This is stuff that's specific to one company. A CEO sends a crazy tweet or there's a disaster at a factory. This is the risk you can completely get rid of just by diversifying. And because you can get rid of it for free, the market doesn't reward you for taking it. Then you've got systematic risk. This is stuff like an interest rate hike that hits everybody. You can't avoid this risk, and because of that, it is the only risk you actually get paid to take on.
So, the market portfolio M, by its very definition, is the most diversified portfolio you can possibly have. It has gotten rid of all that unnecessary, uncompensated, company-specific risk. Now, in the real world, you can't literally buy a piece of every risky asset on Earth, so we get as close as we can by investing in broad, low-cost index funds that hold hundreds or even thousands of stocks. Think of something like an S&P 500 ETF.
And all of this leads to the theory's incredibly simple and powerful conclusion. Your entire investment strategy boils down to just 2 steps. Step 1, you hold the market portfolio. Step 2, you simply decide how much of that portfolio to mix with a safe, risk-free asset. That's it. Your only job is to set the dial between that one risky fund and one safe fund to match your own personal comfort level with risk.
So that leaves us with this powerful, totally paradigm-shifting question. What if the secret to investing isn't about the impossible task of trying to pick a few winners, but is actually just about owning everything?